Hello, my dear friends. We all know that an average does not speak a complete story as representative unless scattering of individual items around that average is known. So, measure of central tendency must be supported by measures of variation or dispersion. So, we are going to discuss today measures of dispersion. Various authors have defined measures of dispersions differently. As if we see A.L. Bowley has said that dispersion is the measure of variation of the item, while Carnot suggested dispersion is a measure of extent to which individual items vary. When we talk about B.C. Brooks and W.F.L. Dick, dispersion or spread is the degree of scatter or variation of the variables about a central value. So, measures of dispersion is important whenever we are talking about the averages. So, we will see in objectives of measures of dispersion, there are various significances of measures of dispersions. As first, to find out the reliability of an average. Measures of dispersion clarifies to find out if the average is representative of data or not. Smaller the dispersion means it is closer to central value. So, central value is more reliable. So, automatically dispersion becomes too much important over here. Then another point is to control the variation of data from the central value. Measures of dispersion suggest to determine the causes and nature of variation. Once causes and nature of variations are known, then that can be controlled easily. So it helps in to control those causes and nature of variations. Then third one is to compare two or more sets of the data regarding their variability. The relative measures of dispersion is used to compare two or more distributions. Then another one is for further analysis of data. So they are used for further analysis as correlation, regression, hypothesis testings, etc. Now we'll see some of the characteristics of measures of dispersion. First, it should be rigidly defined. Then it should be based on all observations. Then it should be easy to calculate and understand. Then it should be used for further mathematical or statistical analysis. Then it should be least affected by fluctuation of sampling. And it should not be affected by extreme observations. Now you will see some of the types of measures of dispersion as range, quartile deviation or semi-interquartile range, mean deviation and standard deviations. These are the four types usually taken everywhere, otherwise Lorentz curve is also taken. Now we will see range. It is simplest measures of dispersion. It is difference between two extreme observations of distribution. As you can see, range is equal to x max, that's maximum, minus x minimum, where x is the observation, extreme observations, that's the maximum minus minimum. Is absolute measures of dispersion. Measures of dispersion may be absolute or relative. When they are expressed in terms of original units, they are called absolute, whereas relative measures of dispersions are obtained as ratios or percentages. It means they are free of unit. This relative measure is called as coefficient of range. So coefficient of range, if you see, so coefficient of range is the ratio of difference between two extreme observations to the sum of two extreme observations. Now another point is coming quasi-range. It is range of distribution ignoring extreme observations, as if two extreme observations x1 and xn are ignored. Xn means up to whatever number we have taken, that's the maximum one. X1 is the beginning one. If they are ignored, the value of quasi-range will come as xn minus 1 minus x2. Here you will find that just below the extreme upper, we have taken xn minus 1, while the next to the first one we have taken x2. So if dispersion is 0, it means extreme observations are same. So there are various merits and demerits of range. First, merit, if we see, it is simplest measure of dispersion. In very beginning we have talked. Then it is rigidly defined. Then it is easy to compute and understand. It is used in industries for control chart. We usually say R chart. It is used conventionally by meteorological department, stock exchanges, etc. When we talk about the demerits, it is not based on entire set of data. It is much affected by fluctuating sampling. It is not suitable for further mathematical treatment. It is sensitive to sample size. As the sample size increases, range increases, but not proportionately. The another one we will talk, that's the quartile deviation or semi-interquartile range. We have seen in previous video about quartile range, where lower quartile was Q1 and upper quartile was Q3. Here also we are taking interquartile range, and that interquartile range is divided by 2. That's the quartile division. So coefficient of quartile deviation if we talk, so that's the ratio of interquartile range to the sum of upper and lower quartiles. So here same way Q3 minus Q1 divided by 2. The whole is divided by Q3 plus Q1 divided by 2. So 2 if you are cutting, so it will come Q3 minus Q1 divided by Q3 plus Q1. So some of the authors do not consider interquartile range as dispersion, but they prefer to call it as partition value. But some of the authors have placed this under measures of dispersion. So we are discussing this. It has various merits and demerits. As you have seen that it is easy to calculate and understand. Whenever we are talking about interquartile ranges, it means we are using only 50% data. So it is better measure of dispersion than range. It is not affected by extreme observations, as it ignores 25% data from each lower and upper end. When we talk about demerits, it is not based on all observation. It is affected by fluctuation of sampling. It is not suitable for further mathematical treatment. Now another one we will come, that's mean deviation. Mean deviation or average deviation is the average amount of scatter of items in distribution from either the mean or the median. No, that's the important point. Ignoring the signs of deviations. The taken average is arithmetic mean, so it is called as mean deviation. When you see the computation, so here it is shown for ungrouped data and for grouped data. So for ungrouped data is the summation of observation minus mean divided by whole number. While in grouped data, same thing is there, but it's about the frequency. So you will find summation of frequency under bracket, observation minus mean, a whole divided by n. Some of books use x minus mu as d, so don't confuse with that. So it has various merits and demerits. Merits, if we talk, it is rigidly defined and is simple to understand and easy to compute. Then it is based on each and every item of data. Then it is less affected by the values of extreme items than the standard deviation. When we talk about the demerits, the strongest drawback is the absence of algebraic signs. It is not capable of further algebraic treatments. It cannot be computed for distributions with open-end classes. It tends to increase with increasing size of sample, though not proportionately. Then we will come to standard deviation. This is the most widely used measure of dispersion. So standard deviation, if we see, it is measures of dispersion of a data set relative to its mean. It is calculated as the square root of variance. It is denoted by sigma. That's here we are using small sigma. So variance, if we see, that's the sigma square. That's the summation of various number that may vary from you can see that may vary from 1 to n number. So summation of square of observation minus mean, the whole divided by total number. So standard deviation, whenever we are taking, so we have already seen in definition that it is square root of variance. So square root of whatever variance formula was there, that's done. So arithmetic mean, we all know that that's the summation of observations, that numbers may vary from 1 to n divided by whole number. So here we are taking whatever observation is coming, with every single observation we are just subtracting mean, and that with every observation same way it is done, and then they are summed up. Then whole is divided by n, total number, and then square root of that is taken. So this is, you can see in computation, the mean value is calculated by adding all the observations of data set and dividing the total number of observations. The variance of each observation of data set is calculated by subtracting the value of observation from data set from the mean. Each of those resulting values is then squared and the results are summed. The result is then divided by the number of observations of data set. Then square root of variance is taken, and that is the standard deviation. You can see with the example, like here we have the data points like 4, 12, 16, 18. So when first of all that we are summing up all of them, that's 50. Then we are taking the mean, that's 12.5, because 50 is divided by 4, that's 12.5. Then the variance is determined by subtracting the value of mean from each data point. So 12.5 is there, means 4 minus 12.5, so minus 8.5. Then 12 minus 12.5, that's 0.5. Then 16 minus 12.5, that's 3.5. Then 18 minus 12.5, that's 5.5. So each of those values is then squared. Then result is coming like 72.25, 0.25, 12.25 and 30.25. The square values are then added together. The whole number is coming as total of 115.25, which is then divided by the value of n, that's 4, resulting in variance approximately, that's coming 28.28. The square root of variance is then calculated, which results in standard deviation. That value is 5.37. Some of if that you are using very long data sets, then in place of n we are taking n minus 1. So there are various merits and demerits, like it is rigidly defined, it is based on all observation, it is widely used measure of dispersion. The squaring of difference between observation and mean removes the drawback of ignoring the sign. It is suitable for further treatment mathematically or statistically. It is least affected by fluctuations of sampling. Almost all the criteria of dispersion is fulfilled over here. Still some demerits we can say. It is not easy to calculate and understand by non-mathematical person, and it gives greater weight to extreme values. So some empirical rule for symmetrical bell-shaped distribution, that's a normal distribution, that's in relation to the standard deviation is given. Here you can see 68% of observation lie in the range, that's mean plus minus 1 standard deviation, while 95% of observations lie in the range, that mean plus minus 2 standard deviation. 99% of the observation lie in the range mean plus minus third standard deviation. So these are the empirical rules, so that we will understand with when we are understanding normal distribution. So in very short, you can understand that normal distribution or Gaussian distribution is a probability distribution that is symmetric around the mean. It means data are more frequent near to mean. Graphically it appears as bell shaped, so it is also called as bell curve. This type of pattern you can see among the height of the people, blood pressures variations, points on tests, IQ scores, salaries. So these various type of patterns can be seen easily over there. Here you can see that if you can see the graph, here mu is given in the center of this symmetrical bell shaped graph. So one or first standard deviation both side. So if it is towards right hand of yours, then it is positive. If it's towards left hand of yours, it's negative. So it's 1 sigma or minus 1 sigma. So it's binomial distribution. So that's why both side we have taken. If unimodal is there, then only one side we will take. So then same way it is shown for 2 sigma or second standard deviation, same way it is given for third standard deviation also. So here you will find that in normal distribution the mean, mode and median all are equal at center. The curve is symmetric at the center, that's around the mean. Exactly half of the values are to the left of center and exactly half of the values are to the right of center. So total area under the curve is 1 only. So remaining more details about normal distribution and their relationship in measurement of probability we will see in another videos. So this is enough for measure of dispersion. Thanks a lot. If you like this lecture, please subscribe, like and share this video. With time we will cover whole syllabus of research methodology and biostatistics of BMS final year and MD or MS first year. Students from other streams can also enjoy these videos if they are having in their syllabus related materials. Thank you very much.